Welcome to the Theater District, the new community access channel that shines a light on the smaller theater organizations bringing big imagination to our cultural landscape. Here, we celebrate the creators, volunteers, and performers whose passion turns neighborhood stages into places of joy, connection, and pure fun. Join us as we explore the stories, artistry, and behind-the-scenes magic that make our local theater scene such a lively part of community life.
We are the Heart Sparkle Players.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, Debbie.
Thank you for joining me in this conversation about the Heart Sparkle Players. And you've been involved much of the time with the Heart Sparkle Players, so we're going to have a lot to talk about.
We sure will.
Yeah. So is there anything you want to share that is currently happening in your life? I mean, it could be theater stuff. It could be whatever fun stuff.
Well, right now, a play I directed called Crazy Dinner is running, and it closes June 14th. And tomorrow, I'll be telling stories with my friend guitarist Vince Brown at the Eastside Club.
And I'm looking forward to being there because I love both you and Vince Brown and the Eastside Club. You know about the Heart Sparkle Players. And we're almost ready for a summer break right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Coming to the end of the season. Season number...
I think at Traditions, it will be the end of season 28.
Wow.
Yeah, of our public performances that we've been doing there. Yeah.
Which is also the same number of years that I've been a member of the Heart Sparkle Players.
Wow. Yeah. Remind me, what brought you to the Heart Sparkle Players?
I think it was an advertisement. I believe you all were looking for new members to be in your group. And I was friends with one of your members named Tim McLeod, who suggested to me that I might like to do this. And perhaps you might have mentioned to me that I might like to do this. Because you and I met back in 1992, a good 5-6 years prior to that, through the Olympia Storytelling Guild.
Right. And we traveled and did storytelling together and got to know each other and had storytelling adventures.
Yes.
And I remember we had very different ways that we approached storytelling and what we were attracted to. And that was the beauty of the Olympia Storytelling Guild at the time, was that there were various different
Yes.
tellers and
Styles.
and the kinds of stories that people told. And yeah, so we'd met then, and then you became a part of the Heart Sparkle Players.
Yeah, after I auditioned. And the audition was the most enjoyable audition, and I was also concerned that I was, as any audition, you want to do a good job. But I recall one element of the audition was to test our listening skills. Because in playback theater, audience members tell stories from their life, and then the performers act it out on stage and recreate the story. So it's important to be a good listener. And so here we are. I was in this room with familiar people and some strangers, and we broke into small groups, and we worked on something together, and we listened to each other, and we listened to each other's stories. And then we were able to try playback theater and reveal, how well did we listen? Did we collaborate well together? And I thought that was a wonderful way to figure out if someone can work in a group.
And, you know, while you all were meeting and collaborating, I was observing you. I was observing, are they sharing it? Is somebody talking more than listening more? To kind of just give me this idea when the person isn't on stage and they're not going to be, performing, how are they with the other human beings? So obviously you and Sarah, who came on at the same time, were great at doing that and collaborating and creating together. So it's pretty amazing that we've been together for 28 years.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about some of the things that we've done in those 28 years and, well, your 28 years and Heart Sparkle Player 35 years of doing playback theater.
Yes.
And I'm really doing a lot of reflecting about it and thinking about all the wonderful things that we have done and the places that we have gone. And one of the things that I'm going to be working on, which I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen, but Elaine Vredenberg, who works with Window Seat Media, and I, and hopefully you and others, will be a part of crafting, getting interviews from folks who have been involved in some way with the Heart Sparkle Players, either performers, audience members, collaborators, and we're going to do some kind of exhibit. Either we're hoping downtown at AHA and maybe even at the Lacey Museum, but it's all just kind of beginning. And I think part of the reasons I want to do that is that I want to be, once you stop doing things or once you leave this planet, people have their own narrative about what you did. And I want to have a part of the narrative
Yes.
now. And I want you all to have a part of that narrative. So I think that's an upcoming thing that's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we will get the word out as much as possible.
And you're going to do some interviews.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a training with Window Seat Media, which you're going to be a part
Yes.
of. And so that we can do, interview and ask each other
An
questions
oral
about
history,
Yeah.
oral history project.
Right, an oral history project of the Heart Sparkle Players.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. So that's the past. But what about the present?
The present.
Yeah, what about the present? What have you been involved recently with the Heart Sparkle Players?
Oh, recently,
Yeah.
we've done a series of performances with an organization called FES, Family Education Support Services.
Correct.
And they're a group, and within their group, they have, a lack of a better word, a group of, they bring together people that are caring for children that are not theirs in that their kinship care program. So grandparents, maybe aunts and uncles, often it is grandparents that are caring for their grandchildren when the parents are unable to be there. And so they bring this kinship care group comes together so that they can, it's that time for them to see that they're not alone and there's other people doing the same thing that they're doing. And we do playback theater with them.
Yeah.
We get to hear from not only the caregivers, but from the children to share their experiences of being in this family group that they create together.
Yeah, and we traveled to Thurston County first, then Lewis County, and then Mason County.
Yeah.
And each performance was different. And I think you were a part of the first two, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the Thurston County one like for you? It was at the Briggs Y.
That's right.
Here in town, yeah. And we had a pretty good audience.
We had a great turnout.
Yeah. And you actually had someone join you on stage.
That's true. There was a young person, I think she might have been 3.5,
She was young, yeah.
but clearly interested in performance and being seen because she was wearing a pink tutu costume and without hesitation got on stage and began using and handling our props, which is mainly pieces of fabric and small wood cubes. And she was decorating the stage and she was there. And you, as the conductor of the performance, decided to let's go ahead and acknowledge this person that's joined us on stage. And so she was able to take a bow with us at the conclusion of the performance. And we got to meet her family. And her grandparents and her siblings, and it was lovely.
Yeah. So in playback theater, just in case there are folks who don't really know what playback theater is, in playback theater, we take stories from the audience, real moments that have happened to audience members, and the actors and the musician play it back, creating a piece of art in that moment. And what we have learned in our 35 years and in your 28 years is that we have learned, I feel, that wherever we go, we tune in to who is this group.
So over the years, these 28 years that I've been practicing playback theater, you have done a great job of encouraging us to continue our training. You brought in experts in different fields to come and work with us and teach us new techniques. And we spent a lot of time learning how to be good listeners and getting to what we call the essence of the story. What is the person really trying to communicate here? What is at the core of this story?
Mm-hmm.
And if we can discern that, which more often than not we can, because we're all humans, we all are people on this planet living in this life. If we can discern what that is, and then we can interpret it in an artful way, maybe through dialogue, maybe through song, maybe movement, maybe all of those things together on stage, it then elevates this ordinary human moment into an extraordinary moment. And in making it extraordinary, it is honored and it becomes sacred. And that's what playback theater does. And that's what was happening at the Fest performance and what you have cultivated with this troupe over all this time. And I feel so lucky because of that training, because of that listening training. I use it all the time in all the things that I do. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, we have gone to all kinds of places. Like those performances, well, 2 of those performances were in gymnasiums.
Yeah.
And intimacy and deep listening happened in a gymnasium. And then we also do these public performances that we've been doing for so many
Yes.
years now. And those are always in collaboration with a community group that's doing good work in the community. And we started because one of our members was going to go to Ghana
Yes.
to travel.
Joyce.
A Black woman wanted to travel to the motherland and was going to meet people there. A friend of, I think a sweetie of hers had family there, and so she was going to go be with their family. But she was also going to do storytelling and learn about storytelling.
Yes.
And so our first performance at Traditions was that. And then I got the idea, let's do public performances, and let's have them always be in collaboration with a community group for several reasons. One, we're highlighting good work that people are doing. And Lord knows we need
Yes.
to highlight the good work that people are doing because life is not easy and times can be hard. And 2, it brings in audiences who might not go to something like playback theater or even theater.
Or even know that it's happening.
Correct.
Right.
And 3, it gets us connected to those organizations, and therefore from those connections, we got paid gigs.
We did.
Because for me, it has always been important to pay performers. And we've gotten grants, and people have paid us. And when our public performers are not paid because they're a gift to our community. But all the other ones, I have tried over the years to get folks money to do them. And when they weren't going to be paid gigs, maybe they were going to be fundraisers for something, the actors agreed to that, and it was okay. But I believe artists should be paid as much as possible, So our public performances are a gift to our community, but they're also a gift to us. I mean, I know they have been to me because I've learned about the amazing things that humanists have been doing. This last performance that we had in May was with the Thurston Housing Land Trust, and they are working to house people. In this time when it's so expensive to get housing, they're working to help folks be able to buy homes in a way that's affordable for folks who are on lower incomes. And it was a beautiful evening. I'll tell about one teller who came. So I saw this young woman, and she was behind a table. She was far away from me. She raised her hand, and it was the time for somebody to tell a longer story. So in playback, we warm up the audience with shorter moments, and then people come from the audience and sit next to the person who's the conductor who gets the stories. And this happened to be me. And so when she came out from the table, she was in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't known that she
We
was
didn't
in a
know that.
wheelchair.
No.
Yeah. And then she came and sat next to me and told this story about her journey with her health and her house.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That she had finally received information from her medical team that things were not going to get better. That her, she was going to be using a wheelchair going forward. And for her, it was relief to not be living in this limbo of, will I be walking again or will I not be walking again? Why fix up my house and adapt it to my needs if I'm not going to be needing this? It's expensive, it's this, it's that. And then she got that news, which, hearing that myself, is devastating. But she was bright about it. She said it was a relief. And now she's going to go ahead and adapt her home and work. She was working with someone about the specifics about what will be good and what will work. And
And when you're on stage and you're listening to a story from someone, what is that like for you? I mean, obviously you have your own feelings, right? Because you're a human.
yes,
You have
Yes.
your own feelings, and then what else? What
Yes.
else is that like?
well, my training teaches me to remain outwardly as neutral as possible. I don't want to color the storyteller's telling of their story nor the audience's interpretation of the story by what my face or body language is doing. But inside, I am thinking about everything. But I am giving everything I have. I am giving all my energy to that storyteller. I clear my mind of any other thoughts, and I think of myself as this big open window or door where there's a breeze blowing and it's their story and it's just coming at me, and I just take it all in and I listen with all my might. With all my might. And if I do that, then I can pick up on the nuances. Yeah. But when she finished her tale, I was left with a feeling of great confidence in her future. I wasn't worried about her.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to learn that she had the money and was going to take the steps to make her home a place where that it would function for her.
Mm-hmm. And that she was envisioning things that she could do in her home
Yes.
to nurture, because she'd been a caregiver and a nurturer.
Yes.
And so she was working with plants. And the huge table that she came from was an improv.
Yep.
A comedy improv.
She's in an improv troupe.
Yeah, she's in an improv troupe. And that was really like...
She said that maybe they could come over to her place now and do rehearsals or...
Yeah. So it was really full of a lot of hope. And I think that's the thing that we often see in playback, is that people can tell very tender, vulnerable, and sometimes hard stories. But there's more often than not, elements of hope and possibility in them.
Yes.
And that has always been, for me, an important part. Different playback companies do different things. Some people are really all about social issues and confronting and that sort of thing, and that is great. But my sensibility and what I need as a human and what I want to bring to our community is different. And I feel like we've cultivated that, in our community. And I think it's a very personal thing. I think that I can be on the sort of melancholy, seeing the hard things side. So in cultivating these kinds of things and these collaborations and hope, it helps me to be able to navigate this world. I mean, I think that's true. It's interesting when you think about yourself as an artist and like, what do you get attracted to? Because you do very different kind of art than Heart Sparkle Players as well, right?
Well, not so different. I mean, it involves performance.
Yeah,
but
but different like Crazy Dinner, directing Crazy Dinner.
Right.
Like experimental kinds of things, which I also do
Yeah.
with
And the
other
vaudeville
folks.
show is always
Yeah,
a
and the
bit wacky.
vaudeville
It's
show.
definitely an entertainment
Right.
as opposed to a reflection of our community and our thoughts and minds.
But the vaudeville show has a lot of heart.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It has a lot of heart. And you can tell that you all are watching out for each other and that you're watching out for
Yeah.
the performers.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I don't know if I might have gotten this from you. Maybe it's just living in Olympia. But my greatest joy is community, is bringing people together and finding ways for them to work together and discover each other. And that's what the vaudeville show is for me, is all these different people come to this variety show and have their different quirky little acts that they've come up with. But then they meet each other. They meet each other and then they go forward and they collaborate together. And Crazy Dinner, for instance, the people that wrote that play were in the vaudeville show. That's how I met them. And then they went on to be part of String and Shadow puppet theater projects, and so was I. And the String and Shadow people met each other because of the vaudeville show. And now it's like this big, well, Olympia's always had this tight theater scene, but it continues on with the avant-garde stuff like Crazy Dinner as well as the traditional theater, which we haven't touched on yet. But I just love bringing people together and having them discover and fall in love with each other with their art. Yeah.
And I think as I observe more traditional kinds of theater, that's not always what happens or what is cultivated.
Right.
But I feel like in our community, people try to do that. Like like at South Puget Sound Community College, I feel like Lauren Love, who's the director there,
Yeah.
really, that's what she tries to do as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of that in our community, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. And I think playback and Heart Sparkle Players are kind of like they have their own little space and they don't fit in other places, but I still feel like we're a part, and I love that.
Do you want to tell us why it's called the Heart Sparkle Players and not Olympia Playback Theater?
Okay, that's okay. Why is it called the Heart Sparkle Players? So the Heart Sparkle Players originally began in 1981 doing sexual abuse prevention plays for children. And we weren't named the Heart Sparkle Players when we first started. There was a group of us who got together who were in political theater or theater that had a mission, had a purpose. And then there was some people who were working in the sexual abuse prevention field. And we got together and said, let's do a play. Let's do some plays for kids to help educate, to help kids keep safe. And this was in the 80s when people were now beginning to outwardly talk about sexual abuse and sexual abuse prevention.
So how to help children keep themselves safe.
Right. So we're in the basement of this beautiful old collective living house called the Alexander Berkman Collective, ABC. And my daughter, Malika, is 5 years old. We're down in the basement talking about this, writing scripts, talking about how we're going to do that. And her and her friends are upstairs playing theater because that's what kids do.
Right. They imitate the parents. You play house, you play store, you play office, whatever. Right. They're playing theater.
Right. And I go upstairs, we have a break or something, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, we're doing theater. I go, whoa, what's the name of your group? And she said, the Heart Sparkle Players. And I said, may I have that name? And she's like, yeah, you can have that name. So that's how, because what do you name a sexual abuse prevention group?
And this play that you created, you had a few versions for different age groups.
Yep.
So kindergarten through third?
Well, we did
like 5 through 9-year-olds, or
we did some fourth grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So kindergarten through fourth grade, we did K1, 2, 3, and then we might get some fourth graders in there if they weren't too cool for school.
Is this the one that had my body's nobody's body but mine? You have your own body. Let me have mine.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's how we started. And then I was asked by teachers, like, do you do anything on bullying?
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And I didn't want to. I said no, but I'll think about it. I'll research it.
Yeah.
I'll give it some thought. And I didn't want to do a didactic piece, sort of scripted piece like we did with the sexual abuse, because I think relationships with bullying and helping kids out and all that, each other, and navigating those terrains are more complicated. I mean, sexual abuse, of course, is complicated, but
Yeah.
there are some clear things you can tell kids. So I was at the Evergreen State College because I graduated from there in 1978. So I used to go out there. And I was walking around and I saw a flyer on a bulletin board, which I like to do to see what was happening out there. And there was going to be a playback performance happening. And so I went to it and I watched it and I went, that's it. That's what we need. That's what we need to do this. And then I met with the person who was running it, Leticia Nieto, and I met Beth Leimbach, who became a part of our company, and I started learning about playback.
And that was in what year?
1991.
Uh-huh.
And the focus was to have kids tell stories about empathy and compassion. So to come at bullying from another angle, that if we cultivate empathy and compassion and kindness, it's a way to help kids not bully. And it's a way for kids to help each other if bullying happens. Because kids aren't bullies. They have bullying behavior, and there's a reason why they have those behaviors. And so really, so that's what we started.
Yeah, I think I went to early playback performances with Leticia's group because 91 was the year that I came to town and was attending Evergreen.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did this in schools and traveled around just like we did the personal safety play. And then I also worked with True Story Theater, Theater of Difference. Her playback companies had different names.
Yes.
And then the Heart Sparkle Players were also a part of that, and we took our work into schools. So we didn't start going, doing public performances for a while. We did it with True Story, AKA Theater of Difference. So kind of that evolution.
I do remember early on in my tenure with Heart Sparkle, we did do a series still with bullying, anti-bullying, and we did playback theater. And I recall you as the conductor asking students to tell stories of when they felt helped, when times that they helped someone else or were helpful, or we tried to use language that would be relatable for them. And in those stories that the children told, they were able to relate about how they felt when they weren't helped. And I thought that was really strong. The whole class could hear, and we amplify it by acting it out, how hard it was when this person had this experience happen to them, and how wonderful it was when this person came and helped. So that was good work.
And so that they could get, that's what we want to do. We're human and we're not always going to do it, but that's what we want to do. As you're talking, I'm realizing that most of our performances have not been like many theaters, like in a theater. They've been in schools.
Yeah.
They've been at community colleges. They've been in
civic centers.
Yeah.
Workplaces.
Yes, workplaces.
Yes.
Yeah. And so people don't, if you don't hire us or we don't go to you, you don't know that we're performing. But we've done hundreds of performances over the years.
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Going to those places. And then we've done our public performances for the community.
And, I think we know, but playback's done all over the country and it's done all over the world. And because of that, they have conferences. Because when people do the same thing, they like to get together and talk about doing the same thing. And so there are conferences in North America, in Asia, in Europe, South America. And in 2019, there was a conference in India. An international conference is held every 4 years. And we as a group, we got to go to the one in Brazil in '07, I
Right.
think.
Right.
And then we went to the one in India in 2019, but I know you've been to others. And we got to watch other groups and how they practice playback theater and share the difference. But in Brazil, we were presenters and presented working with the Thunders.
And working with youth, And so the Thunders is a whole nother project that we have, which is working with young adults, now some of them going into middle age adults, who are on the disability ability spectrum, also autism spectrum, and creating with them. And we've done performances in schools with them, the Compassionate Action Project, which was, we got a grant to do that in the North Thurston School District and at Roosevelt Elementary. Once again, cultivating empathy and compassion.
Yes.
And what a gift for the Thunders and the Heart Sparkle players and the audience to see people with disabilities on stage creating.
Yes.
And so that's been really wonderful. So I'm thinking about the future, what's going to come up next. Heart Sparkle players, as we were saying in the beginning, it takes a break pretty much in the summer.
Yeah.
We do have
Like a lot of theater does.
Like a lot of theater, and we will be back in the fall at Traditions downtown in November for our first public performance of the season. Our season used to be 8 performances a year. Now it's 4 because I'm going to be 72. And so I try to do things now in a lighter way, in an easier way.
In a way that's still enjoyable without feeling burdensome.
Yeah.
Sure.
And luckily, people like you and other people in the group are like, okay, we'll keep doing that too.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
We joked 20 years ago, we joked that we wouldn't stop until we stopped.
Right.
We'd be up there with our walkers.
Yes, geriatric playback, we called it.
Playback, we said.
Yeah. So we'll be back in the fall, ready for a season. We also still will do commissioned work. If people hire us, get grants, want us to serve their community, we do that as well. And what about you? What are you going to be doing?
I will be probably the main thing I'll be doing is hosting and organizing the Storyoli Grand Slam coming up in September 19th at the Capitol Theater. Do this monthly storytelling slam. And by the way, hats to you. You taught me how to give back to the community. And so on stage, I use your words. We donate money from the door to organizations in town. And I quote you every event. I say, we want to highlight people that are doing good work in our community and tell you about some good news because we need it these days. So thank you for that, Debbie.
Yeah.
So the Storyoli does that, and that'll be in September, the Grand Slam. And then I'm putting on this 20-year anniversary vaudeville show. In October, we're going to run it 3 weekends instead of 2. And I'm bringing back some performers that were in like year 1 and 2 to be on stage again. And we're going to pull back some old characters and also have new performers. And yeah, I'm going to try to make a big deal out of the 20th anniversary.
Isn't it lovely to do that? Doesn't it feel good to make a big deal about?
Yeah.
I mean,
Why
20
not?
years is a good long time.
It's a
Why
good long
not
time.
celebrate it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so thank you for doing this interview, but also for 28 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with you.
Ditto.
So in addition to playback, I mean, I know you from the Storytelling Guild and the Heart Sparkle Players, but the theater world in general in Olympia, there's a lot of, for a while, there were so many theater groups in town. It seemed like every time you turned around, there was another theater group starting up. And some have been big groups, some have been small groups. I'm talking traditional theater group, like scripted plays. There was a small theater in town for a while called the Midnight Sun Performance Space, and it was the hub of mini and independent and quirky theater production. Oh, now I'm thinking of Barbara Zolano,
Yeah.
who started that theater. She recently passed away.
And you and I were in a play that she
wrote and called Boomtown.
Mhm.
That's right. We did Boomtown together.
We did do Boomtown.
Oh my gosh, Boomtown was fabulous. It was a play written by women, focused on female characters, strong female figures from the U.S. history from the American West in the 1880s. That's
And you
right.
were?
I don't think I remember my character. Mad Maddie?
Yes.
Mad Maddie. And you were a madam.
I was, yes, I was Madame Cora Blue.
Cora Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was a gun-toting...
Going in and out of train windows.
Yes.
And
what a fabulous production that was. There was a trilogy. There were 3 plays. One was set in a brothel, one was set on a train, and one was set in a saloon. And they were run, Thursday night was the brothel, Friday night was the train, and Saturday night was the saloon. And so each night the set would be switched over to reflect each location. And in my memory, that play took place in 3 different places. Because they switched the seating. Where the audience was seating was shifted each
Every
time.
night.
Every night.
Yeah, every night.
So Barbara and Sky and
A woman named-
Mara West
Right.
wrote this play, and we were
Yes.
in it.
yes, yes.
And my father, okay, we didn't say we'd tell this story, but my father was so excited about this play. I was telling him about it on the phone. He lives in Nevada. That he purchased replica weapons, guns, fake guns that look like 1880s weapons, a rifle or a shot. I don't know what these things are, and a pistol
In a holster.
and
Yeah.
a holster.
Yeah.
It had fake bullets and it fired blanks.
Mm-hmm.
And he purchased I think they're very expensive for what they were, and after a rehearsal at the Midnight Sun, my father was like, "You can't leave those in the theater. I want those back afterwards, you know." So I would take them home every night, and I had the shotgun on my shoulder, and I had the holster on still, and I had the pistol on my hip, and I was walking a few blocks to my vehicle when the Olympia police rolled up. And they pulled their guns on me, told me to freeze, and they came and disarmed me and questioned me and did this whole thing. And I said, they're stage props, but they didn't have the orange tips, you know, because they were like replica weapons.
Right, right.
Yeah, so that was the whole thing, and they took the whole
Wow.
fake gun apart, and
Wow.
I was like, gosh, the play's going to open in a few nights. What's going to happen? And I was, anyway, it turned out to not be an issue after all, but
And I think this was about 30 years ago.
yeah.
Not quite 30, but right around. Because,
Right.
yeah, I remember.
So
Yeah.
over time, a theater group was formed called Prodigal Sun Productions in cahoots with the Midnight Sun. And it was myself and Judy and Tom Sanders and Keith Eisner and whoever else. And we would choose plays to direct, and I chose a play called Keely and Dew. And Keely and Dew was about abortion. It was about the right to choose, and groups that didn't want that, the right to life groups. And it was a 2-person play primarily. There was, I guess there were 4 people in it total, but it was about a woman who has kidnapped a younger woman who is pregnant and plans to keep her in her basement until the woman's child comes to term. And the captor's name was Dew, and the pregnant person's name was Keely. And you auditioned for the play, and you played Dew.
Mm-hmm.
You had to play this character that has these such strong feelings that does this act. And there was a man involved who was in charge of the operation of the captivity, and he would come and speak to Do occasionally and give instructions and so forth. But the gist of the play were these two women talking and getting to know each other and learning about each other's backgrounds. And it was an intimate exploration of this moment in time. And for an actor, it was a huge, what we call a line load. Because if there's only two people in a play, half the lines are going to be one actor and half are going to be the other. So I recall that you were quite anxious about having to memorize all of these lines. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I do. Well, because unlike my not then husband, but now husband, Keith Eisner, who can learn lines very easily, very quickly, it's torture for me. It's possible, but it's torture.
Yeah.
And I have to get it in my body, and, once I get it in my body, it can't just be a head thing. For him, it's a head thing.
Yeah.
Actors learn lines in different ways. And it was a beautiful role. To me, it's like one of those roles that picks you up and turns you around and puts you in a whole nother place and asks everything of you. Everything.
Yeah. So
it's like one of those roles. And I was on the stage all but probably like 5 minutes of the play, I mean,
right.
Yeah. So so I remember Keith helped me at that time learn my lines.
Because Keith played the male character.
He played the minister.
Yeah. And he's now your what?
Husband.
Uh-huh.
That's right. And he played the minister, and then Tim Samlin played the father, the man who got Keeley pregnant.
The baby daddy.
The baby daddy, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the baby daddy. But they weren't, they were there and they'd show up and they were, but it was this relationship between these two women who fell in love with one another, actually, as like a mother-daughter kind of situation. And yes, I came to you like I don't know, like a week before we were going to open, and I was just like, I don't think I can do it, And here, I'm like this. I'm older than you, and I'm this older actor who you've cast, and you're like, I have complete confidence in, you cast me, so you're like, yeah, I got confidence in you. But the thing about actors is, we have our our insecurities.
Yeah.
And they come out in different ways. And I had the lines, but I was just worried that I wouldn't. I had them. I was just worried that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or somehow I'd fail you or fail the play.
Aww.
And you were just like, Debbie, I believe in you. You will do it. And you were very matter of fact. You didn't, there was no, you just I don't know what you were feeling inside, but you were just very I believe in you. You can do it. And I just went, okay.
Yeah.
If she believes in me, I can do it.
Yeah, I did believe in you.
Yeah, because you saw me. You saw that
and
I
we
could
had a
do it.
role reversal.
Yes,
I
we
was
did.
the director and you were the actor, as opposed to the Heart Sparkle dynamic.
Yeah. So it wasn't really a funny moment, but it was one of those moments where that vulnerability of that actors can have, and the kindness and understanding that a director can have came up, and then to me it became like a dance, because there was lots of scenes. So there were lots of endings and beginnings of scenes,
lots
blackouts,
of scenes.
And then I'd be in this position for one scene, the lights would go out, and then I'd be over here for this scene.
That really helped you, I remember.
It really
to
did.
Be in your body. What am I doing on stage?
Yes,
this is going to trigger those lines.
Yes. It was like one of my favorite roles I've ever had in my life.
Cool.
And you were a wonderful director. Just like I saw when I went to Crazy Dinner recently, what a wonderful director you are. Because as a theater person, I feel, I don't know if you do this, but I look at the words, I look at the staging, I look at the actors, and I look at the directing. I can see it all in parts. The director made this choice, or, the actor made this choice.
Yeah.
And you don't always know, because you weren't there for rehearsal. But I can see good directing, is what I'm trying to say.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking about the Midnight Sun Performance Space, which reminds me of years ago did a performance-focused festival called Big Show City. And it was a multi-day, multi-venue thing, and I was trying to get as many and as great variety of performances as I could. This predates the vaudeville show. At any rate, I asked you all, the Heart Sparkle Players, if you would perform at this festival, and you said yes because, you're like, sure, we're going to support our friend Elizabeth. And so we did playback theater, but unlike so many of our commissioned works that we've talked about earlier with working with students and different populations at their workplaces, this was not a traditions. This was going to be in the Midnight Sun, and it was an opportunity to be less tender and sacred and be more irreverent and free with the playback theater. And we did stories you wouldn't tell your mother was the theme. And so people were able to share these things that, if they never want their mom to know, but they shared them that day, and then we acted those out. And that was playback theater where we did have quite a bit of humor on stage. Yes,
we did.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there was some other event that happened where we did stories you wouldn't tell your father.
Yeah, it was the following year with the same festival.
Right, stories you wouldn't tell your father.
Yeah.
And they were a little more serious in a way because they were kind of like about the judgment that the father, quote, father figure has.
Right.
But there was in both of them there was sexual things.
There was.
There was sexual things.
The mother one, I think one of the actors had to portray a dildo. I think. Bobbing around on stage.
Yeah. No, those were like some of my favorite playback performances because they didn't have to be. They could be irreverent.
Yeah.
They could be.
They were a
playful.
little lower stakes, too.
Yeah, they were lower stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a lot of fun. And then Big Show City. Did Big Show City give you the idea for the vaudeville show?
It did.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Big Show City ended, and I don't know if I talked about this in the other thing. Yeah, it ended, and then I shortened it to a one-evening event, like a multi-day, multi-venue into one 2-hour moment of variety. Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of when you were talking about, there was a point a few years ago when you thought maybe it's time to call it good and let Heart Sparkle Players come to its end. And because of whatever you were feeling. But instead you found a way to keep going by reducing it. Like I didn't think I could possibly do another performance festival. It was just, no. But then I thought, what can I do? I can do this. And so so far, for the last few years, you've decided you can do 4 public shows a year. And that's great.
Yeah, and I think artists need to create.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an artist, or however you want to define yourself, but whatever, artists need to create. They need to be involved. For me, I need to create, and I need to take in art. I need to experience it. And so, but sometimes you have to adapt what you can do, what you have the physical, emotional, mental energy and capacity to do. But that's kind of what happened for me. I went like, I can't stop doing this.
Yeah.
I just need to have less responsibility and less I want to hold it easier.
Yeah.
And
or you can't stop. I mean, you can correct me if you don't jive with this, but I think of it as feeding our soul. Like, we have to keep feeding our soul. Just like you have to keep feeding your body, you have to eat a meal, and you don't do anything. I'm like right now I've directed a play, but I don't have a big project of my own coming up, and there's anxiety there. There's discomfort. I don't feel good. I'm thrilled. Tomorrow I'm going to be telling stories with Vince, and that is going to help me a lot. It's going to feed my soul, and it's going to make, hopefully it'll go well, but I know I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And why not?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really about continuing some way of being creative and nurture creativity. And I think the other thing that is similar between you and I is that as we have moved down the road, we have to nurture our own, but we're also very interested in nurturing in others.
We are.
And watching those seeds grow. So,
That makes me think of Crazy Dinner.
Right.
I'm working with people who are 20 years my junior, some more. And they are not coming from a theater background. And so in addition to directing a play, but I've been a mentor to this group, Nightmare. When I did the show a couple years ago, I was in a show they wrote, and they were just really, they found themselves interested in doing this. And I said, you know what that is? What is that? That's musical theater. You have songs and you have costumes, but now you're adding storylines that connect all the songs together. And these are characters that are interacting while they sing the songs. That's musical theater, is what you're doing. Ah, well, then we want to write a play. Well, then write a play. And they have written plays, and they're quite good at them. And, like, here's a small moment that I'm happy about. I know it's just tiny, but they'd written a script for this current play, Crazy Dinner, and shared it with me. And I read it, and just the way it looked on the page, I said, there is a standard format for scripts. Would you like to know what it is? Oh, yes. They're just making it up as they go.
Yeah.
They're inventing that wheel right there.
Yeah.
I said, well, actually, it's established. This is what you do. The character name is centered. It's in all caps, just the basic formatting, how stage direction should look on the page, how the dialogue should look on the page, how when you have lyrics, they should be indented and in all caps. And that way, it's just very clear for everyone. And they were like, thank you. And it was very helpful. It's just little things like that I take for granted, but for someone who's new to it, they don't have any idea that that's what you do. Or how rehearsals run. That you do this first and this next and this third, and you have to make sure you have what's called a tech rehearsal, where we test the lights and sound and decide how we want the show to look. You can do one before that called the cue to cue, and just, I don't know, it's been fun. I've been a teacher before, and it's been fun to be a teacher again.
Well, and that's great because, many people learn by doing. And if they're lucky, they get mentors like you, and those mentors help them so that they don't have to pay a whole bunch of money to find out how to be this artist that they are. They actually just get to be it.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of, I'm really attracted to that aspect of theater and of community and of creating, that it didn't come from, both of us have had some training, and I'm not dissing training, but I also think that, in the weeds and you're actually creating it, like you and I have created all kinds of things that we didn't get any training for.
Sure.
That training held up, and we've had mentors, but these folks are getting that from you.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
They asked me to be part of this play, and I thought about it for a week, and then I said, well, how about I direct? Because the last two productions they did, they were in them, and they sort of directed them.
From the outside. Yeah, they went in and out.
They tried to do both.
Yeah.
The String and Shadow group tries to do the same thing. And as a more traditional theater background, I've always thought that a little too much chaos for me.
Yeah.
But, so I offered, I said, what if I direct? And one of the playwrights, he immediately said, that would be fantastic. And then, also a cue from you, when we work together, you'd say, well, what does that look like? As opposed to telling someone how it's going to be. So I had a meeting with the two playwrights, and I said, so when you ask me to direct, what does that look like for you? What does that mean? And because they could have a very different notion.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, it means that you would decide the stage directions, And I said, the blocking. They said, yes, the blocking. They're learning that word. And I said, and they said, and you would decide what we do at rehearsals? And you would be in charge of rehearsals and in charge at rehearsals? I said, okay. I said, that is what I also think directing is. How about we agree that we will talk before each rehearsal? Because as the director of this new work, I want to make your vision a reality. I don't want to go too far astray. I want to do what you want. So let's have a conversation before each rehearsal, and then we'll go forward. And he said, that sounds great. Yeah.
And you and
And he did have to tell some of the people that have worked with him in the past, he had to tell them, I trust Elizabeth completely, so that they could accept me as the director. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But he wrote a great script. There wasn't a lot that I had to guess at.
And their music.
They're great songwriters.
Oh, the music is
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Clarinet, keyboard, and cello.
Stand-up bass.
Oh, it's a stand-up bass.
It's a
It's
contra
a
bass.
stand-up
Yeah.
bass? Wow. Why did I think it was like a cello? Well, because I guess it's a
I
little...
thought it was a really big cello.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a giant cello.
I don't know. It just seemed like a cello. Like the
She's
sound
played-
that came out of
Stella, who was the other person in Nightmare, the two co-writers of the show, she played cello in 2 years ago with the
Oh,
String and
maybe.
Shadow band.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Beautiful work.
yeah. Who are we? HSP.
That was fun.
Wait,